All right, guys, two of the most iconic cars in movie history, Brian's orange Supra and Brian's silver Skyline. For the first time, we've got them sitting side by side in our shop, and there isn't a better way to show how far these builds have actually come. In this video, I'm going to show you guys how we matched our car to Skyline 6819, the same car that appeared in The Prelude, the short film that bridged the two movies. We'll talk about how Enrico at Modern Image, who was literally on set back in those days, guided us on the little touches most people never noticed. Then we'll kind of get nerdy, Supra versus Skyline. So stick around, because by the end you'll see why the Skyline isn't just another replica, it's one of the most accurate recreations of Brian's car you're going to find. If you caught our recent deep dive on the Prelude short, the bridge between the Fast and the Furious and the Too Fast, Too Furious movies, you know that Skyline 6819 is a key piece of that story. That car has been at Universal for nearly 2 decades. Over the years, it was repainted and given a fresh set of graphics for display, but that display version missed something subtle and important: the ghosted gradient. The original movie cars had a soft airbrushed fade where the silver body color gently fogs into the blue stripes. It's a kind of detail you feel more than you actually see, until you know to look for it. This wasn't just for cosmetic flair. The film's art director specifically wanted the fade, because when you looked at its silver Skyline with bold, solid blue stripes, it immediately pulled the car into a design language that felt more like old-school American muscle. Think classic Chevys with racing stripes across the hood. That vibe didn't fit an imported Nissan Skyline GTR. The fade softened the stripes, letting the car's unique shape shine through instead of being overshadowed by graphics that looked out of place. And honestly, it was a good catch. Not everyone initially loved the idea of a Skyline wearing stripes at all, so the gradient gave it its own identity, distinct from muscle car traditions. So when it came time to finish our Skyline, we didn't chase the tram car as it looks today. We went to studio-provided high-res photos of 6819 from back in the day when it starred as Brian's car in Too Fast, Too Furious. That's what we matched. We sent the car to Modern Image because history. Enrico and his team were there when the originals were done. He told us the stripes back then weren't just blue vinyl. The art director wanted life in the graphics.
They do the graphics on the car and then pick the paint colors. It's all up to the art department after that.
So they hand airbrushed a soft fog where silver transitions into blue. We actually tried to build that gradient into the vinyl itself at first, hence the reason the car was at Modern Image for about a month. On paper it sounded perfect. In reality it was too bright. The fade sat on the car instead of melting into the car. So we backed up and did it the way they did it 23 years ago, except we applied a low saturation airbrush technique as the gradient fog onto the actual stripes before being applied to our car. This way we were able to achieve the exact same look as the movie cars back in the day. The fogged in gradient was flat and not shiny, which give it the same effect as you see on the big screen. Oh, and here's a fun little bit of trivia. Enrico from Modern Image told me none of the Skyline graphics were actually all the same. Since the cars had the fog-in applied at different times, they didn't have another car sitting by to compare it to. So each fog blend was slightly different, and especially considering the process was done by hand. The Hero first unit principal car had a slightly different blend than the second unit principal car. Thanks to a supplied HD image of the second unit principal car, we were able to accurately match our car to that look. So, same attitude, same softness, same fade. The inside matters just as much as the outside. When we inspected Skyline 6819 at Universal, the original nitrous hardware was still in place. That gave us the chance to measure the pyramid rack exactly. It's basically a fiberglass steps box, 3 shelves, 3 bottles, stacked for the visual punch you remember from the film. We're replicating that piece, but with proper reinforcement modular mounting points. That way, if the car is headed to a show and needs a passenger seat, the rack can unbolt in minutes and the Skyline can go right back to being a two-seater. Authentic, but usable. Now, let's talk gauges. On the actual movie car, they glued this 3-gauge pod onto the passenger dash, angled towards the driver. Honestly, it looked super cheesy. The design always bothered me. For our build, we're recreating the same angled orientation, but we've designed our own bezel to look way better than what they had used. It's cleaner, integrated, and still keeps the authentic metallic blue finish that ties in with the stripes on the outside. The bezel for the MFD will also get that same treatment, painted in the same exact shade of the blue used for the graphics. We're even taking it further. The lower hard plastic portions of the door panels will be painted in that same blue metallic, a color close to Nissan's Bayside blue, but actually matched to the graphic blue on the car. It ties the interior into the exterior, the way the art director originally wanted the cabin to feel like an extension of the livery on the body. And if you look here, you'll notice the passenger side airbag is gone. In its place, we're building a pop-up monitor. The original airbag cover will still function as a retracting door that opens and closes using actuators, but underneath will be a screen that mirrors data from the MFD, giving it that futuristic, gadget-loaded vibe Brian's cars are known for. To top it off, the car will feature the correct steering wheel, the correct GTR-specific center console trim. Right now, our car still has the GTT pieces, but we've actually sourced original GTR parts, so the cockpit matches what you'd expect from the real thing. It's those details, the bezels, the paint accents, the functional monitors that transforms the car from not just a replica, but into a time machine that takes us back to the actual film. And yeah, we're nerds about the little stuff. Fastener choices, bracket shapes, cable routing, the things most people never notice. But that's what separates a casual replica from a faithful recreation. This interior won't just look right, it'll feel right. The creative choices on both of Brian's cars tied back to Craig Lieberman, but not always exactly how they looked before the movies. Craig was the technical advisor. He owned both cars before filming even started and was responsible for all the mechanical bits and the actual interior pieces and builds. But the aesthetic decisions, the paint, the graphics, the feel, those were largely art director calls. The Supra wasn't just chosen because it was fast. The studio needed something that would pop on film during the daytime, when nearly all of its scenes were shot. The bright Lamborghini-style pearl orange gave the car an immediate head-turning quality that stood out in crowded race scenes under the direct sunlight. And the Kawasaki green accents, which make up the graphics, were chosen because they contrast sharply on camera, a deliberate choice to keep the Supra from blending into pavement or background in broad daylight. When the sequel came around, they had to rethink what a hero car meant. With Brian now carrying more of the narrative weight, especially since Vin Diesel was not in Too Fast, Too Furious, his car had to look like his, not just a sidecar accessory. So selecting Lieberman's Skyline wasn't just about availability, it was about image. How to reframe Brian's identity with a new set of colors, a new tone and context. Originally, Craig's Skyline was black. Universal repainted it silver and added blue stripes for the film. Those changes were, again, the art director's decisions. Color to set tone, decor to match setting, and here's the important distinction, the Skyline was filmed exclusively at night. That's why the team chose a light metallic paint. Under Miami's neon, a darker car would disappear. The silver reflected light, the blue stripes echoed ocean and sky, and together they gave the car presence, even in the darkest street shots, dictating how the cars would appear in motion, how light played off panels, how the audience would feel when the Skyline slid into frame at midnight or when the Supra blasted across a sunny straightaway. Color, kit, stance, these were all about narrative tone. In Motor Trend's feature on the Skyline from Too Fast, Too Furious, the car is described as being drenched in House of Colors platinum pearl paint and wrapped in the full C West body kit with 19-inch wheels. The crew even made changes specifically for camera drama, disabling the four-wheel steering and removing the front drive shaft so it could perform exaggerated slides and burnouts. Those were studio calls, performance sacrificed for cinematic effect. And comparing the two, Supra versus Skyline, what's powerful is seeing how Craig's cars became canvases for two very different visual philosophies. The Supra, bold, orange, and green, designed to dominate daylight. The Skyline, silver and blue, designed to command the night. Same owner, same technical DNA, but two entirely different creative visions. The art department thought more than just about horsepower. They thought about how colors react under sun versus neon, how reflections would read through a camera lens, and how those choices would affect the audience's perception. In the end, they crafted cars that were more than fast machines. They were visual storytelling tools. So when you see both of these cars today side by side, it isn't just about two icons. It's about two different designs, two different design conversations. One built for daylight grit, the other for neon nights, both rooted in Craig Lieberman's cars, both shaped by art directors to tell a story about Brian O'Connor's journey. Okay, let's talk myths and motors. Fans have compared the Supra and the Skyline for decades. Toyota 2JZ GTE versus Nissan's RB26 DETT. Both are legendary straight sixes with twin turbos, both with iron blocks that tuners trust, and both with deep aftermarket. Generally speaking, the 2JZ is known for huge power under stock internals and a torque curve that comes on strong, especially when converted to a single turbo. The RB26 is famous for its high rev personality and quick response. Helped by individual throttle bodies and the way it breathes up top, in the GTR the RB26 also pairs with the Atessa system. Here's where we've been absolutely transparent about our car. We actually started with the Skyline GTT, not a GTR. The GTT is a rear-wheel drive and came with an RB25, still turbocharged, slightly different displacement and head design, but to keep the look authentic, we converted it to a GTR look using GTR panels, GTR cluster, and an MFD bezel. And we didn't cut corners. A lot of replica builds will glue fiberglass overlay quarters onto a GTT shell or bolt on aftermarket fiberglass fenders. We didn't do that. We did it the hard way, the right way. We ordered a brand new factory Nissan GTR quarter panels from Heritage Nissan. We installed genuine aluminum GTR front fenders and a genuine aluminum GTR hood, all OEM steel and aluminum, not fiberglass copies. It was more expensive, way more work, but it means this car is built like a true GTR on the outside, not a shortcut version, aesthetically. We also dressed the RB25 to read like an RB26. Correct covers, twin turbos from a GTR to the casual eye. It's a dead ringer. But if you know your Neo motors, the giveaway is the variable valve timing. There's a little extruded bulge on the timing cover for the VVT gear. That's the tell. Is it an RB26 versus 2JZ? In our case, it's more like a Supra 2JZ versus an RB25, cleverly dressed to capture the movie car's character. For the driving experience, it still feels like Brian's Skyline. Quick spooling twins, rear drive balance, and that signature sound just delivered through our GTT-based platform. The debate, 2JZ versus RB, never really ends, but what matters here is authenticity to the film and the driving experience that sells the fantasy when you see the car, hear it, and feel it move. These two cars also mark a shift in the franchise. The first movie was shot in Los Angeles, hot, gritty, grounded in the West Coast street culture. The sequel shifts to Miami, bright colors, neon lights, and a looser, flashier energy. The Supra fits LA vibe, a build outlaw street car born out of garages and friendships, Brian stepping into Dom's world. The Skyline fits Miami, rare import made legitimate through MotorX, wearing a body kit that looked right under all the palm trees and neon lights. And yes, Vin Diesel didn't appear in Too Fast, Too Furious. He was off doing other projects, which left Paul to carry the sequel. That changed the tone of the film. It became a buddy mission story with Brian in the lead, forced to go undercover or face hard time. The Skyline stepped into the spotlight as his new hero car, just as the Supra had been before. But here's the surprising part. Universal spent an enormous amount of money acquiring 4 additional R34 GTRs, not including Craig Lieberman's. And despite the high standard they were built to, the Skyline actually gets very little screen time. Fans have estimated, though not confirmed by studio records, that the Skyline appears for only about 4 minutes or less in the entire movie. After Brian is taken into custody and given the ultimatum to either work with the feds or go to jail, the Skyline makes its brief but unforgettable appearance. Very quickly, though, it's swapped out. The government supplies him with the Evo, which became his main car for the rest of the film. So why did the Skyline matter so much if it was barely there? I think a lot of it comes down to Paul Walker himself. Everyone knows he had a deep personal love for Skyline GTRs. It just made sense that this would be the car to tie his character to, even if the screen time was short. And that's the irony. Despite getting the least airtime, the Skyline is still one of the most sought-after cars in the entire franchise, cementing itself as Brian's hero car in the eyes of fans. The Supra represents Brian's entering Dom's family. The Skyline represents Brian becoming his own man. When Vince stepped away, the studio knew they couldn't just recycle the same formula. They needed Brian to evolve beyond being the cop who fell in with the crew. Without Dom, Brian had to stand on his own as a character with weight, confidence, and presence. The cars became a big part of that. The Skyline wasn't just a fast machine, it was a symbol that Brian had stepped into a new chapter, one that he had control of. Think about it. In the first movie, Brian was always defined in relation to Dom, whether he was chasing him, lying to him, or earning his respect. In the second movie, the script had to prove Brian could hold the screen by himself. The Skyline helped write the story visually. It wasn't just a new car, it was part of the identity shift, signaling that Brian was no longer just the outsider trying to fit in. He was the driver now, front and center. And that's why those details matters to us especially. A car in this franchise isn't just a prop, it's an extension of the character. The studio knew audience would be missing Dom's presence, so they doubled down on making sure Brian's Skyline had the same gravitational pull as the Supra once did. That way fans would still feel anchored to the world even though the family looked different. The movie cars were never built to last. They were designed for the camera, to make an impression in a 2-second shot. Our job is to honor that vision while also making a car that actively drives, idles, and holds together on a dyno. That doesn't say much for the Charger, which is giving us all sorts of challenges and will probably never behave in a way that we feel is acceptable. So that leaves us with our roadmap. What's next for this Skyline? First stop is going to be Apex USA facility, where Richard from Works Corso will sort out all the custom intercooler piping, which is tight packaging behind that C-West bumper. Then Jason from Rival Auto Works for wiring, cleaning up the harness, ECU setup, and safe first start. Finally, Danny from Unrivaled Tuning will place the car on a dyno and bring the car to life. It's the same philosophy the art director followed back then, built to tell a story, only now the story includes the sound of an engine actually running and performance that will match the look. Back up. Two icons, one finished and one nearly alive. Comment below, Supra or Skyline? Which one defines Brian O'Connor for you guys? Please hit that thumbs up and please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, thanks for joining us.